What do I love about Newham? I love the different cultures, the different religions, the languages, the food, the food.
I like Newham because the residents are very simple, broad-minded, positive thinking, very friendly and very welcoming.
My favourite place is the library because I like to read.
So we've got basically everything. I love living here. We've got sprawling green spaces, and we've also got a really rich history. There's a lot of social justice things that happened here, really rich working class history coming up through the industrial revolutions. It's a really important part of making London what it is today.
I think Newham has created some of the most key people that's been part of urban culture.
You love meeting people, meeting all the people and having lots of friends. Do you have lots of friends in Newham?
We have some 242 languages and dialects spoken. We literally have a connection to every single country in the world through our people. And imagine the beauty of that variety and that diversity and the heritage that we can celebrate and showcase all the significant contributions that our communities over the years, over the eras have made to making Newham such a great place.
Newham Heritage Month started in 2020, so this year is the 5th year. The National Lottery Heritage Fund obviously realised that there were not many applications going into them from Newham, and in turn not enough funding coming into the borough, and so they were keen to address that, and they worked with us. And I think, Newham Heritage Month has brought out a lot about Newham. It's excited people in the borough to want to get to know more about Newham's heritage. And so that's why having the community grants is a really good thing to enable people to learn more about specific areas of Newham's heritage. One of the aims of Newham Heritage Month was to capacity build groups and individuals, so it'd be like a stepping stone. They started off with Heritage Month either 1 or 2 times, been successful, and then they've gone on and applied for much larger amounts directly through National Lottery Heritage Fund, which is a good win.
So I offer a training session as part of the grant recipients training programme, which is an archive research skills training session. And I love doing this. It's so satisfying to see the final work of the community grants recipients and research that they might have conducted in the archive just all come into one cohesive event or exhibition or programme, because that's why the archive's there. It's for people to use it and to gather information on a more granular level and then turn it into something that they can share with people. And that's kind of the archive's purpose, really, is to provide information to people who can then use their own skill set to filter through it and make it something exciting and fun and engaging. It's also helped me as an archivist kind of see these different ways in which people engage with history.
It almost feels like there have been so many individual, meaningful kind of encounters with so many different people, finding out so many different stories. I mean, this building was an institution in Newham. A lot of things happened here. A lot of people intersected here. People grew up here. It's been really, really interesting.
Well, but for their funding, I don't think our project would have started off. It kind of really gave us the motivation to research and invest the time into the story of our building. And I think it's been an amazing journey of learning and discovering lost legacies. And I think it's certainly one of my proudest moments.
I mean, we had a vague idea before that Fairbairn Hall was a diamond in the rough, and we felt we had no notion of support or this idea that we were connected to this larger project, like to the story of the borough, to heritage in Newham. So it's really allowed us to literally to open our doors and to start sort of aligning ourselves to actively do the things we want to do, like begin all the conservation projects for Fairbairn Hall.
Being able to put Fight for Peace on the map and also put North Woolwich on the map. I didn't know this place existed before I worked here, and I think a lot of the time young people can feel forgotten, and not just young people, the community can feel forgotten in North Woolwich. So being able to actually create something really powerful and tell an authentic story that people can connect with, not just from North Woolwich but outside, and just to have that recognition and that awareness of, you know, we're here, this is what we do, and these are the champions that are coming out of Fight for Peace.
The team I built this documentary with, this is a team of 5 creatives. Most of us are super young. The oldest person in the team is like maybe 22, 23. Youngest is 17. And so the whole project was like it's an opportunity for a lot of us young people who haven't really worked on very big projects to dip their toe into stuff like this. And it is a risk, but it's a risk that Newham tend to be happy to make. And for me, I'm very grateful. If it wasn't for Newham funding a lot of Fight for Peace projects in the past, I don't know where I would be right now. I'll probably be in a different place, but not where I am right now.
I think that Sunday, when I thought in the community by myself without my carers, some people look at me funny, and I think this show would tell the people that hello, we are here. We are here, and to not to us in a separate box, you know. Newham couldn't be Newham without us.
Finding out that we've got such a community here and people that have been here for such a long time, it's nice to listen to their stories, because we do have a history here. We have some amazing people on this estate. It's just nice to actually be able to have that documented.
Yeah, my favourite thing about this has been working with my neighbours, and it's important that we had a bit of money to do that. A lot of projects went on volunteers, and I'm not that wild about getting people to do stuff for free all the time. Not everyone can afford to do that. And the stories that people have shared with me about their memories in their life and what they hope for from the estate is really important and valuable. And when I talked to people and was asking if I could interview them, I was talking about it being a heritage project and kind of the interviews now being the heritage of the future sort of thing.
It's maybe not scared to get involved a bit, really, especially as they're doing some consultations now. Like it's the right time to kind of get involved. I've been here, next year will probably be 6 years, maybe. I think the whole fact it said that Newham Heritage Month, it was kind of a reminder to the community about, you know, what it means to be in Newham. I felt it last year when West Ham won the Europe. That was amazing. That feeling was incredible. Yeah, to keep that kind of going really is nice.
So I had this idea to create a queer living archive in Newham, and that means that we want the archive to be alive. We don't just want it to be living in an archive in a space where people have to access. We want the archive to be shown in schools, to be, you know, in the formats of VR, of AR, films that people can access and watch and share, and also that the queer communities from these specific places could also record their stories and bring them also into the archive. So that would be incredible if we can have that kind of dynamism, is like a dynamic archive that just grows and moves like an organism, you know? And it can become whatever we want it to become. And I think that's what's really interesting. It just feels really clear what I need to do next.
One wonderful thing that engaging with this project I've found has been the fact that I've met other people in Newham as well who are queer. And also I felt really connected to history by meeting members of the Gay Liberation Front and hearing kind of about like what their life was back then and then being able to reflect on that today. I've always liked living in Newham. I've been here 6 years, but actually I feel kind of even more accepted and connected to the history of the area now.
I'm just really grateful that this happened. I'm grateful that we were giving the training for free because it has been a real lovely thing to do. I always thought, oh no, I'd be no good at doing walking tours, like delivering them, but being able to have a go in a really friendly, supportive environment where everyone's just giving it their best go, and specifically about queer history as well. It's been so exciting and really a massive confidence boost, yeah.
One of the things that we found out when we were researching the Abbey was that some human remains were uncovered, and as part of that the remains were reinterred by monks who live in Leicestershire. When we went up to visit those monks, we found that there was this very strong community of Cistercian monks who feel very connected to the history of this site because they're all from the same order. That's just one way of describing the connection that you can have through the passage of time. And in this garden here today, we're growing all these amazing fruit and vegetables. We're using skills from all over the world that represent the local communities that live here now, and all of that expertise that comes together. And in that way, we're connected to the monks who were gardeners here in the 12th century. Yeah, and I'd like to think that the way that we're connecting people through doing and making is the strongest way to connect to a past of a space, wonderful space like this.
It's been really nice today to see like a very multi-generational enjoyment of making and crafts and growing, and what's been really lovely is it's attracted new people as well into our community. I think there's a lot of people that knew a little bit about the ruins but not very much that actually use the space a lot already, so it's been really interesting for them to understand the history of the site. And going forward, I think having all of that information together in one place on the Newham Heritage site is going to be really useful for us because we get so many people that are curious about what's happening on the site.
Taking part gave me what I needed in terms of looking at arts and culture in a different lens, and to see people who have been in the industry for much longer than I have, and also sort of dipping my toes before taking the plunge in a way. So it's been really motivational.
I've done it to document the history that a lot of people don't know about, because skating became a massive thing during the lockdown. And a lot of people didn't know of Stratford Centre. People skating it now and they don't know nothing about it. Like, it was the mecca for skating. The world needs to know about what Newham had, the legacy that it had, and the lives that it changed, and the impact that it had on Stratford and the UK. I think people don't realise that, and we might be sleeping on that. Well, we've slept on it because we've been kicked out of there. And it was a place for creativity, a place for kids to come off the street. The amount of kids that came off the street to find a way out of poverty, find a way out of crime. It was a way for them to express their true self. And yeah, I just think we've slept on that because that was a beautiful thing.
I think it just felt like it's very cathartic in terms of that skating was my life, and it feels like all the stories that I kept telling people since lockdown, and I came from this era and this stuff happened. It really makes it feel like my story has been told, and as an artist, a visual artist, a multidisciplinary artist, my job is to tell stories, but this particular project is close to my heart because it's how I became liberated as a young woman through skating.
the Beckton Gasworks have been closed for a very, very long time, and there's a lot of very good documentation from when it was open, but there have been 50 odd years where it's sort of fallen into a state of disrepair that's quite beautiful, and we have been documenting the sort of green spaces that's come with it, and also the traces that have been left behind.
Heritage is not necessarily big country houses that are immaculately preserved. We're trying to preserve an industrial wasteland wilderness, so not focusing on things that are overly historicised and deemed culturally significant. That's only part of the story of heritage.
We obviously have a very specific experience of this site. It's dereliction, it's a state of nothingness, but there are just so many wonderful stories in archives like the Eastside Heritage Archive, where you can hear gas workers talking about their experiences here, and in the Newham Archive, where you can read first-hand reports of what it would feel like to walk around. And I think while we might have had sort of an inkling of what it would have been like from sort of photographs you find on Google, that process of digging through local archives has been really, really enjoyable and productive.
And the process of the project, developing this multimedia archive installation, has meant that we've tested techniques and expanded our own artistic practice, which obviously doesn't directly relate to the heritage of the area, but it does sort of create new space for more experimental archival practices, hopefully. So hopefully people take a few of the ways that we've treated the site here and reproduce them somewhere else and add to them. We've had plenty of inspiration from other artists and our colleagues.
Our background was in pirate radio. We came from pirate radio. We came from a culture of you don't speak. So when we were doing what we were doing 25, 30 years ago, we weren't allowed to have our names, our faces, or anything associated, anything to do with deja vu. And we weren't to know that 25 years later, some of the people that we gave the start to are now celebrated, achieving awards and on TV. We didn't know that they were going to be pop stars of today. So there's a lot of great interest shown in this. But because we didn't document or speak our stories, what's basically happened is people have recreated that history because those voices were not there. Now, we can now speak and say, well, this is what it was. We wasn't a pirate radio station because we wanted to do something illegal. We came from a day where our music was not accepted, so we had to create our own. Like, we never had internet, so we wanted to have our music played on radio station. We had to make our own radio station. We wanted to have our music in a club. We had to make our own club. We wanted to release songs. We had to make our own record label. And I feel it can inspire today's generation if they know about it, because you will have young people who are not being accepted by mainstream media, not sure which way to go. Like, why not learn about history that you can identify with as well? I wasn't particularly interested in history at school because I couldn't identify or connect with what they were talking about. I didn't see anyone that looked like me or spoke like me. But we can detail our rich and proud history and it connects with people. So that's why I think things like the heritage and the culture periods that Newham are doing, it's very important so people can truly feel inclusive.
The impact of our 5 years of Newham Heritage Month, which is a really core foundational part of our building Newham's creative cultural strategy, has been really important as part of widening participation in all things culture, creative and heritage. It's been about the important collaborations we've been able to seed with creative talent in our borough and bringing a spotlight on that creative talent that exists, and it's really commendable. We've got a fantastic heritage team in Newham, the way they have with passion, purpose and with heart, really involved so many different people and ignited an interest and an excitement about Newham Heritage Month. And for me, the importance of Newham Heritage Month is about a demonstration that Newham is at the beating heart of London's culture, and the way in which not only does it bring new audiences to heritage from locally, but also brings into the borough people that are excited by a presentation of heritage that reflects the wonderful diversity of this great borough of ours.
It's totally increased the awareness and understanding of heritage, and I think it's changed people's view that it's not some dusty thing that you know people are not interested in, it's not relevant to them or anything like that. And I think it definitely has changed people's perception and made it more relevant to them.
It's important that as a council we preserve our heritage as an honour of our history, as a community and as a borough. We need to demonstrate that we are preserving the stories, the assets of the communities that have made Newham their home, and I'm really excited that we're doing that through an ambitious programme of transforming the old Canning Town Library into our preeminent, iconic archive and heritage centre.
It's due to open in September 2026, and this is going to provide a hub for heritage in Newham, in the sense that it will have a display space, more of the collections will be visible and publicly accessible than ever before, brand new archive store, so we can keep growing the collections and developing them, and a really exciting programme of engagements and learning activities all geared around heritage. I just like to think that there's an awareness of how incredible this history is and how important it is to keep it, and that people see that they can be in control of that themselves.
What I do think is potentially really powerful is the fact that we've connected and made something happen together, and that means we could do that again.